Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in into today's episode of Cerita. I do hope your weekend has been going great so far, like all weekends do. I mean, I love my weekends, and that's actually one of the reasons why I decided to start Cerita because I decided I want to fill my weekends with something worthwhile, something that I enjoy doing, and that is why I started this talk show, Cerita. So, if this is your first time watching this talk show, a huge welcome to you as well as to the regulars. I'm Natalia a 14-year-old writer and the author of the ebook The Cat on the Bridge, which you can check out in the caption below. But anyway, back to Cerita. So, this is a place where I speak to different people who love adventuring into the wonderful world of words. And I'm not just talking about authors. This includes storytellers, poets, and even unpublished or aspiring authors because everyone has their own story to tell. And if there's one thing that I love to do, it's to listen to those stories. So today we have someone who has a very special story who will be coming onto the virtual stage shortly. But before that, I just want to say a few fun facts about her because she's such an amazing person. I mean, she's the Vice President at the Malaysian Technology Development Corporation, also known as MTDC, which is an agency under the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. But I think one of my most favorite facts about her is that she's actually the author of the amazing book Entreprelore, which, if you don't know what it means, it's actually a combination of entrepreneurship and folktales. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, like, what? What? How can those two things even mix? It's even the similarity between entrepreneurship and folktales. Yeah, I had that same thought when I first heard about that book. But you know what? Any better way to answer those questions than by inviting the expert and the author herself on board. So, everyone, please let's welcome Maria Othman to the screen. Hi, Maria. How are you?
Hi.
Uh, Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It's an honor, seriously, to be having this wonderful interview with you. I hope you're well. Um, let's just start straight away. Before I have this kind of like tradition before jumping into the deeper questions, I like to ask every speaker who comes on my talk show, what's your favorite book?
Oh, that's the most difficult question.
Exactly.
Because, isn't it? Because you always have a favorite book right now. And
Yes,
then you read another book and that becomes your favorite book at that moment. So it's quite hard to
exactly.
say. So at the moment, my current favorite book is Three Body Problem. I've
Ooh.
always loved science fiction. So it's amazing how science fiction of the 1950s becomes science in the year 2000. So the science fiction of Three Body Problem, which is the current science fiction, will probably becomes the science in say the year 3000. Isn't it amazing that these writers are able to sort of predict where science will go? It's my current best book at the moment.
That sounds really good. I've never read science fiction personally, because
Ah,
I don't know, but I definitely should, based on the book that you're telling me. I definitely
yes,
should.
yes, yes, yes. I believe in the book. In fact, I think it probably is a true story. I'm convinced by it.
Ooh, okay.
Mm.
You have me hooked. Okay, I have to add that to my wish list. But
Mm.
yeah, thank you. I think my favorite book. I have too many favorite books. It's like you say, it's
Exactly.
such a hard decision, right? Like
Ah,
maybe if I when I was like 6 or 5 years old, my favorite book would have been like Enid Blyton or Roald Dahl, sort
same,
of.
same,
Yeah.
same, same. Enid
But
Blyton
like now,
was my favorite author. Mm.
yeah, like there's those classic like children authors. But like now, times have changed. There's so many new authors in this world, and you just can't decide. Oh no, which one is my favorite now? So yeah, it's a really tough decision to make. But thank you for making that decision. Three interesting. I'll have to check that book out. But yeah, let's jump straight into the so-called deep questions. Uh,
Mm.
first of all, I just have to ask anyone who is like first glances at your job description
Mm.
would be like so confused as to how that made you jump into writing. Like the
Ah,
MTC, from what I've heard, is that they invest in technology companies. So I'm just so curious, how did you get from there to writing
mm,
your own book? Like, it's such a big leap. Like they are two completely different sides of the spectrum. So yeah, I'm just wondering
mm.
like what made you decide that you wanted to try writing out?
Well, um, the thing is, I went to a science school, so I thought there was no other options for me but to do science. And I've
Mm.
always been fascinated with science, technology, innovation. I'm fascinated by it. I'm thrilled. Like I said, I loved science fiction books. So I
Mm.
thought I thought science must be the field that I choose. So I chose science and I did engineering because I thought I must choose something that's easy to graduate from. So I thought, okay, like chemical engineering lah, easy, right? So I did. It was not easy at all. So my interest, my inclination has always been in the arts, but my training has always been in science. And I think that's great because it helps activate both sides of my brain. So when I hear a story, when I see stories, it's, what do I say? It's more than three dimensional. It has the physics of it, it has the depth of it, the material of it, it has the whole components of the science as well as the arts in a story. And I think the decision to write must have come. I don't think writing is ever a conscious decision
Yeah.
because you have something to say, you have stories to tell, therefore you write. Publishing is a conscious decision. I think I only decided to
Mm.
publish when I turned 40, and it was my birthday, and I woke up panicking. Like, I'm 40 years old today, and I have not published anything yet. That was panicking. I must publish. That was it. But writing, I don't think it was a conscious decision.
Mm. Yeah. I like how you said that you kind of like had your mind was kind of balanced out, like one side with the arts and like one side with the
Mm,
science, which
mm,
is it's quite an interesting thing to think about because most people like maybe majority is either in arts or like majority
yeah,
is in science kind of. So that you have quite a good balance of both in a sense, which is quite interesting. Yeah. So since like your job, like you said, it had to do with more on the science bit and
mm,
technology bit, and then the writing is more to the arts, right?
mm,
So, like I said earlier, like first glance, people would think that there's no similarity at all.
mhm.
But do you think there's any similarity?
Between folktales and entrepreneurship, technology,
Yeah,
science, and all
between
that.
like, your job and your writing.
Ah, I believe that technical topics, engineering subjects, what's difficult can be made to be more human, can be made more approachable if you write it right. So even
Hmm.
in writing, why must textbooks be so boring? Why can't you humanize physics? Make it more interesting. So when you read it, you're actually interested to find out more and able to relate it
Right.
to your life. Why must it I I don't know if textbooks now are a great read, but not so during my time. Ugh, okay, I don't
I think it
understand.
hasn't really changed like since
Really?
then.
Yeah. Why is it that you think you will appear clever if you confuse people, if you can't make them understand, if you sound difficult, therefore you're clever? I don't think so.
Interesting. When you say humanize, like the difficult bits or like the factual bits, what do you exactly mean like by that?
When I had I think it was about for 1 year I was a columnist for Dewan Plaza magazine. You know that magazine
Oh,
ada, right?
I read that magazine last time.
Ah.
Yeah.
So I proposed a section, a column in the magazine, titled Warkah Kehidupan. It is actually letters from oxygen to nitrogen, or from
Oh,
ants to bees, talking about their life, about what they do. So then you see, because you want to protect things that you think are human. You don't protect desk or chairs because they have no feelings, you thought. When you realize that living things or even oxygen and all that, if you put life into them, you make them human, then you feel, oh, human as well. Therefore, yeah, they have feelings. Oxygen has feelings. Oxygen is writing letter to nitrogen saying that oxygen is suffocated from all the carbon monoxide, that kind of thing. Then you can relate to it more and you want to protect it more. That's what I mean by
Mm.
humanizing science,
Right.
making
It's
it
almost like
real.
yeah. It's almost like you see everything like a character in a story. Like how
Yeah.
you say yeah, like the oxygen and nitrogen, they're talking to each other like in a character in a book, which is I've never heard anything like that before. So it's cool like the way you see the world kind of is like everything is like a book in a sense and everything is just characters and encountering and interacting with each other, which is such an amazing thought to think about actually. And actually, I think I don't know if I have to ask this question anymore or if you already answered it, but
Mm,
because your book, Entrepreneur,
mm, mm,
it's entrepreneurship plus folktales, right?
mm.
So I'm just really curious, how did you manage to connect the dots between entrepreneurship and folktales? Like, did you just wake up one day and it's like, and then suddenly see like, oh, that's the similarity, or did you take some time, to think about it and actually have to analyze it one by one? Of like, yeah, how
Mm.
is it like the question between your job and writing? Was there anything similar? So now I'm kind of looking, okay, folktales and entrepreneurship. How did you manage to connect the dots between those two things?
Well, I take the stage a lot. I do a lot of training for entrepreneurs, or even sometimes just taking the stage explaining what MTDC does. And I always use stories. I don't remember analyzing stories, but I remember feeling, knowing that I'm able to explain things better when I use stories. Like, what is
Mm,
MTDC? If you ask me what is MTDC, there's some people, because we have a lot of products. So, companies receiving product A will describe MTDC as uh, supplier of product A. Company receiving product B will say MTDC is supplier of product B. So it's like that story about the blind man and the elephant. So if you are only
ah,
exposed to a certain part of the elephant, that's all the elephant you know.
right,
Just
right.
like a trunk or just like a fan or just like a rope. So then I started to use these stories to describe MTDC is the sum of all these parts. And then
Mm,
another easy example is the story of Cinderella. You know, the shoe that doesn't fit her? The
right.
shoe to me is always the market requirement. So if the market wants the shoe, the product, to be of certain size, certain shape, certain heel length and all that, height and all that, and you're giving them something else, then it will not fit. So you've got to sell something that fits market requirements, market specifications. So that's how I see Cinderella as a story about market validation. Mm.
Right. So, oh, that I didn't thought about that before. It's really interesting
Ah.
how, yeah, it's interesting. So do you see, is this the same for like every, like, let's say fairy tale that you read or folktale? Are you able like to find like certain bits of entrepreneurship hidden in each story that you read?
Not necessarily entrepreneurship. Sometimes about the life I live in. I mean, the choices I make. So when given a
Mm,
situation, I think this is what I think Will Smith said, that all the problems in the world that we face, anybody, any problems at all, must have been discussed in some books, in some stories over the years. So you just need to be
right.
able to see it. So some stories, some folk tales, they tell me about family values. Some tell me
Mm,
about uh, entrepreneurship, for example. Some tells me about the the trying something new, the guts to live and make that journey. So each story will have different message to me, and I'm sure different message to anyone who reads it. So what? And then again, the story, like Cinderella story, at the moment to me is the story about market validation. Ask me again in 10 years, maybe it means something else. Maybe by that time I was like sitting in old folks' home and seeing that it is about my false teeth. It must fit. Is it? So who knows? So
Right.
different situation will have different stories that one can relate to.
True. It's like I think I've heard this quote once before. Like you have different books like in a bookshelf,
Huh.
but it's like when you choose a book to read, it's almost like that book is meant for you at that perfect time. So at
Mm,
the same like what you're saying, like each story is like perfect for you at that situation in
mm,
that specific situation, and like the lesson that you learn from it,
mm,
in a sense, is like what you need at that
mm,
moment. Which I
mm.
like. I like how you said as well that maybe in the future a story might mean something else to you because
Correct.
then like your ideas change, sometimes even your mindset changes, and it's almost a way of like thinking out of the box of
Mm,
like how different stories they fit into different areas of my life, which
mm,
actually makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. Which yeah, interesting. And I think this is just a fun question that I just wanted to ask because your book is full of different kinds of folk tales, right? I read it, it's super amazing, and just the questions that you ask at the end of each story also makes me think quite a lot. And I'm just wondering, like, among all those different folk tales that are in that book, like which one is your favorite? Like most favorite of those folk tales?
favorite. Must be the first story. But you're talking about this book, right?
Yes, yes.
I have second book now.
I don't have the second book, unfortunately. I only read the first
Yes.
book, but I should get the second book.
The first book, I think the first story is about the emperor's clothes, right? Emperor's
Ah, that
new
one.
clothes.
Right.
I think, okay, I want to also discuss the Hang Tuah Hanjabat story. To
Mm.
me, it's similar. So during, you know the story, right? Hang Tuah and Hanjabat.
Yeah.
When Hang Jabat went amok because the king was not just and the king killed Hang Tuah, so Hang Jabat went amok, right? And he murdered not just people in the palace, but also everybody in the kampung.
Yeah.
Because according to him, we are all responsible. So when the king is a tyrant, when the king is not fair, it is also our responsibility. Why did we not tell him? Why did we not advise him? So it's the same with the story of the emperor. So when the emperor is actually naked, it is our responsibility around him, the advisors, to tell him
Yeah.
the truth. Why do you let the king run around butt naked? Because you want to like kipas him, to please him, to say all the things that he wants to hear instead of what the things that he
Mm.
needs to hear. It's a big
True.
responsibility. So in entrepreneurship, when you have a small team, your decisions must be towards optimizing your resources. So
Right.
if the one making that decision is not making the right decision, the role of the people around him, the advisors, must bring his attention to all perspective. That's your responsibility,
Mm.
right? Whether or not he makes decision in your favor is something else. But our role, our responsibility is to make him see different perspective. Give the boss, the leader, your opinion. I think that story is speaks loudest to me because I think it's
Right.
applicable not just in entrepreneurship, but also in anything that we do. Our bosses,
Yeah.
our parents, our teachers. If you see something wrong is happening in front of you, like
Yeah.
man beating a woman in front of you, what do you do? Do you ignore? Do you look away? Mustn't look away. That's
Right.
that. I hope that answers your question. Quite
Oh,
long-winded.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it's like knowing when is the right thing to do at the right time, in a
Hmm.
sense. Yeah, it's like, for example, like that's why when I read the
Hmm.
Emperor's New Clothes, I think I first read the Emperor's New Clothes when I was young. My first thought was like, why? Just why? Then now when I like reread it, it's like, huh, actually, like what you said is true. that
Huh.
actually the advisors could actually tell him
Huh.
the truth. I thought at first that it was all just about the emperor, like it was just him, like he shouldn't he have known kind of. But then now I
Huh.
said like, oh, it's not just him. Maybe it's also the advisors, the
Huh.
other people around him. Like they could have told him as well, other than just him.
And
Yeah.
I'm not
So
even
that's
talking politics yet. Let's not even
let
go
me.
there, right?
I
Ah,
see that. I see that.
yes,
I see that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Interesting. So, throughout your journey,
Mm,
in meeting different people, because I know your job, like you said, you're a trainer for
mm,
entrepreneurs, and that it's required, right, to meet different people, and also
mm,
throughout your journey in writing the book. What is
mm,
the biggest lesson that you've learned? There must have been many, but like, what do you think
mm.
is like the biggest lesson that you've learned, and like you still hold close till this day?
You're a writer as well because you
Yes.
introduced yourself as a 14-year-old writer. I'm a multiple 14-year-old writer. Okay. So I think so you probably is able to relate to this that we have self-doubt. Can I really write? Can this book sell?
Yes.
You know, we wonder about, and then when you read fantastic books, you thought to yourself, I wish I could write like that. My writing is
Yeah,
nowhere near that, right? So and
I
then
get
makes you
that. Yeah.
feel right. So I think um, I have met when I was in school. I loved writing, but you know the syllabus. Yeah, you're sort of stuck in the format. Yeah, you have to have
Yes.
this in the first para, this in the second para. You have to have
Mm.
these keywords. So I didn't do well at all in my karangan, my composition. But then I also took 1119, which has creative writing bit. So I did very well in 1119 creative writing, but I did badly in English. I don't know 322. I don't know what code they call it. And I remember
Mm.
asking my teacher about my writing. I said, "Is it really that awful?" I said because I think I got a D or something for my composition. And he said, "In bahasa betul-betul teruk," he said, "really, really
Oh,
awful," he said.
oh no.
So that really shattered my self confidence. And
Right.
then I met, when I was in university, I took up creative writing class. And this lecturer told me that, Maria, you can write. He said, you have a flair. You can go very far. And again, the power of words. You mentioned something about this Cerita is about words, so either storytellers or writers, anything that
Yes.
involves words, right? So words can build, words can also destroy. So in your journey, in my journey, I've met people giving me words to destroy as well as words to build me, to build my self confidence. Somebody told me that you cannot call yourself a writer until you publish. And then somebody else told me that you don't have to publish.
Mm.
Writing is to vent,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Yes.
and then you need to know that you make that choice. You choose what words to be impacted by. Do you want to listen to this destructive words or to the constructive words? You make that choice. So if you are,
Right.
so if because I like writing, because I think I can I can deliver a lot of good through writing. So I do it, whether I am qualified to be called a writer or not, whether it's teruk, betul-betul teruk or not. I choose to believe in what I can do, and I
Mm.
choose to believe that what I do is good enough, at least for me, and I can only get better. So it's about
Right.
personal.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story with that one. I think it's really, yeah, I think a lot of people, they really have that kind of twisted mindset that you reckon you're only a writer if you publish your book, or like if a lot of people read your story. But that's not true, right? Like what you said. Because writing in the first place, it was never meant just for others to see. Writing
Mm,
actually, first place, it's for yourself. It's like, you said, it's like to vent all your emotions, your
mm,
feelings. And I think that's what a lot of fiction writers do as well. It's like they express themselves, but in a very subtle way through their stories.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like said just now about how the writing, yeah, it really is uh, a place to vent and just show all your emotions in your words. Yeah,
Mm.
made a lot of sense in that one. And yeah, I think uh we're nearly coming to the end of the talk show, but I just want to ask, do you have any final words to say, any encouragements to writers, aspiring writers, or maybe even actual authors? Like, what do you have to say to them?
I think we all have stories within ourselves, and I believe this is my own theory that all bestseller books are the writer's true story, but
Hmm.
told in a way that probably doesn't expose themselves. But the story that's closest to their heart will be the closest that will touch our hearts as well because it's told from the heart, right? So I
Yes.
believe all of us have stories. So don't deprive the world of your stories. Write them. Publish or not is another bit. Write them first. Get it all out first. And you need to have the discipline to write, which I kick myself every day for not having done it.
Neither do I technically.
And start young. Like I admire you for having that confidence at such an early age. So if you started writing at the age of 14, what will you be at the age of 40? What will you be at my age? Fantastic writer, which I which I believe you are able to be. Because you have this wonderful, you have your whole life ahead of you. So for all the budding writers out there, those who want to write, don't put it off. Right now. Don't wait until you're
Mm.
40 to panic. Right now. Do it. Tell your story. Share with us. That's it.
I get that. Thank you so much for that, Maria. I really just feel that you have such an open mind, to life in general, which is actually one of the few things I love about you because you're someone I can see that can really think out of the box. Like you don't just stay in the box. You open the box and go out of it and start exploring whatever you see, which is I admire, I seriously admire the kind of courage that you have around you. So thank you
Yeah.
so for your time that you've given for this talk show today. And to
Thank you
everyone
for
who
having me.
yes, thank you so much. And yeah, to everyone who is watching, if you stayed till the end, thank you so much to you as well. I hope that you learned something new from today's session. I mean, I certainly did. And to be honest, if I took the time to say everything that I've learned, we will probably be here for another hour or so. So I will spare you all the pain of listening to my voice any longer by ending this session. So once again, thank you so much, Maria, for coming. And to the audience, I'll see you guys next one.